Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today because we're jumping right into the fundamental mathematics behind alternating current. Look, if you work with circuits or study electrical engineering, you already know AC doesn't just sit still, it's constantly fluctuating. So the big question is, how do we actually measure it accurately? Well, today we're going to move step by step. We'll start with the highly practical applications of these measurements, and then we're taking it all the way down to a really beautiful, elegant calculus derivation that proves exactly where these numbers come from. Let's get into it.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap. We're going to cover the applications of the RMS value, define the average value, visualize the half cycle, set up our equation, and wrap it all up by deriving the final formula.
Section 1. Applications of the RMS value.
All right, before we get bogged down in the heavy math, we kind of have to ask the obvious question, right? Why do we even need these specific measurements in electrical engineering? Well, the root mean square, or RMS value, isn't just some abstract theory. It's literally the absolute practical standard for measuring alternating current. First off, whenever you hear standard AC circuit values specified, like the 120 volts coming out of a standard North American wall socket, that is an RMS value. Second, the instruments we rely on every single day, our standard voltmeters and ammeters, they're specifically calibrated to measure in RMS, not the peak value of the wave. And third, and this is absolutely crucial for circuit safety and design, the actual heat generated in an alternating circuit, calculated as I squared RT, is directly proportional to the square of the RMS value. It essentially tells us the true effective power doing actual work.
Section 2. Defining the average value. So now that we've got a handle on the practical utility and the heavy lifting that RMS does in the real world, let's pivot a bit. Let's explore the conceptual foundation of our other crucial metric, the average value. To really wrap our heads around what the average value of an AC wave is, we need to compare it to something we intuitively understand perfectly, which is direct current, or DC. Think about it this way. Alternating current is this constantly moving target, changing magnitude and direction. The average value, which you'll also hear called the mean value, is defined as the steady, unchanging amount of DC current that would transfer the exact same amount of electrical charge across a circuit in the exact same amount of time as our fluctuating AC current. Basically, it's the DC equivalent for charge transfer.
Section 3. Visualizing the half cycle.
Okay, definitions are great, but seeing it graphically makes it undeniable. Take a look at the sine wave graph we've got here. Notice how we're only looking at the positive half cycle of the wave, starting at 0 and ending at pi. Now, you might be wondering, why just the half cycle? Well, if we average the full cycle of a perfect sine wave, the positive and negative halves would just cancel each other out to 0. And, well, that's really not mathematically useful for finding our constant. So we focus entirely on that shaded area from 0 to pi. See that tiny vertical strip labeled d theta? To find the total area under this curve, we just imagine slicing the entire wave into these tiny, infinitesimal d theta segments and adding them all up. It's like a giant math puzzle.
Section 4. Setting up the equation.
With that geometric visual of the shaded half-cycle locked in your mind, let's translate that picture into numbers. The crucial point here is how we define the math of that shape. The curve we just looked at represents the instantaneous current. Mathematically, that's defined as lowercase I equals I sub m times the sine of theta, where I sub m is our peak or maximum current. To find the true average of this shape, we apply a classic geometric principle. We simply take the total area under that half-cycle curve and we divide it by the length of its base. Yep, it's literally just area divided by width.
And here is exactly how that area over base concept translates into strict calculus. Our average current, I sub AV, equals the integral from 0 to pi of our instantaneous current I with respect to theta. That numerator, that is our total area. Then we just divide all of that by pi because that's the total length of the base along the horizontal axis.
Section 5. Deriving the final formula.
All right, we've got our setup. Now for the really fun part. We're going to walk through this calculus step by step to derive that final formula. Let's tackle the first 3 steps. Step 1, we substitute our definition of I into the integral. So we get 1 over pi times the integral from 0 to pi of I sub m sine theta d theta. Now for step 2. Remember, I sub m is just our maximum current. It's a constant peak, so we can just pull that constant straight out to the front of the integral. This drastically simplifies things, leaving us with I sub m over pi multiplied by the integral of sine theta d theta. Moving on to step 3, we perform the actual integration. The integral of sine theta, that's just negative cosine theta.
Let's keep going and see how this builds as we evaluate those boundaries. In the first step here, we apply our limits, pi and 0, to our negative cosine function. That gives us I sub m over pi multiplied by the quantity of negative cosine of pi minus the negative cosine of 0. Next step, let's evaluate those trigonometric functions. The cosine of pi is negative 1, so negative 1 becomes positive 1, and the cosine of 0 is 1. So inside those brackets, we simply have 1 plus 1, which of course equals 2. Finally, in step 3, we multiply that 2 by the fraction we left outside, and boom, that reveals our final, incredibly clean algebraic form. 2 times I sub m divided by pi.
And here's the kicker. When you grab your calculator and divide 2 by pi, you get this, 0.637. This right here is the essential universal constant. The average value of any perfect alternating sine wave is exactly 0.637 times its maximum peak value. All that fluctuating, messy charge, mathematically simplified into one elegant decimal.
You know, this brilliantly illustrates the symmetry in electrical engineering. This constant we just worked so hard to derive, it isn't just a rule for current, because voltage in a standard AC circuit follows the exact same sinusoidal wave pattern. It perfectly mirrors the mathematics. The average voltage, V sub AV, is exactly 0.637 times the maximum voltage, V sub M. The calculus just seamlessly links the entire concept together across both properties. It's really cool.
So we've thoroughly proven that for a perfect smooth sine wave, our magic multiplier is 0.637. But I want to leave you with this to think about. Sine waves aren't the only shapes in electronics, right? If you're dealing with a digital clock signal or maybe a synthesizer, you might be looking at a harsh square wave or a sharp triangle wave. So how would that change the geometry of our half cycle? And more importantly, how radically would that completely alter the calculus we just walked through today? Keep that in mind the next time you look at an oscilloscope. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the math behind the machine.